committee meeting to order. Roll call.
Kemp,
Here.
Brenner,
Here.
Henderson.
Here.
And this meeting and all meetings of this committee are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin statutes, so citizens may be aware of the time, place, and the agenda of this meeting. And we need a proof of the minutes from the May 12th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 12th, 2015.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions or comments with the minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Department update.
Well, the first thing in your packet there is the budget. The only thing that is a little out of line is, and I'm not looking at it right now, is the last one where it says computers. I think something got coded there wrong because I know we haven't bought $6,000 worth of computers or service. So I'll look into that with Katrina. Calls for service for the month are at 260. We talked last time about having the current month and the previous month, so I put all of them in for this time, just so you have a frame of reference. So going forward, you'll only see the two, the current one and the previous one, so you won't have these 20 pages. So there were 44 citations written. You can see there, nothing out of the ordinary for a month. The next section down, the criminal referrals to the district attorney and DHC or DHS. That's a little alarming for 1 month. We had 2 overdoses. One was on West Main Street. A young man overdosed on some high-grade heroin and synthetic marijuana. He took a trip to Theta Clark on the helicopter. He was in pretty bad shape, but he'd made it through, and he's being revoked and sent to prison for a minimum of 18 months. And then the last week of school, we had one alcohol overdose at the high school. And he also made a trip to the hospital for treatment, and he's doing fine. As you can see on here, some first time for us ever, we've referred the charge maintaining a drug dwelling. That was for 2 of the search warrants that we did. We have extensive information from one in particular that is opening the door for us to further investigate. Unfortunately, these cases are usually rentals. If it ends up being a house where you charge them for maintaining a drug dwelling and they own the house, there's ways we can go after seizing the property. But when they rent, there's not much we can do about it. But we did have a reckless use of a firearm that was involved with a sexual assault. And then the 4 heroin arrests and a lot of paraphernalia. And the prescription drugs, legally possessing prescription drugs is increasing too. They're just very hard to find. You find somebody who's got 3 little pills in a bag in their purse, it's tough to get at it. Any questions with the referrals or citations?
No.
Next thing you'll see there is what the mileage sheets are going to look like. They do look like what you're seeing there. They're just not working 100% yet. One of my card, I log in, you'll see the first one there. It'll have the date, the badge number, which is the officer, the time they worked, and then the mileage, if they got fuel, it tallies it up at the end of the month. Yeah, I had the same problem, Mike. And then you'll see which person, how many miles they drove, how much gasoline, oil, if they bought any, or windshield wiper fluid. So by the end of, or by our next meeting, you should see one of those for every officer that worked.
Okay.
So you'll be able to track that, the times they worked, the mileage, and which car they're in. Speaking of cars, the short bus broke down the other day. I was a little concerned about it. We had to have it brought back to town. Jim came in and looked at it on Saturday, and it was just the starter fried out. So that was a quick fix. It was back in service right away the next morning. We're working on a couple of grants, a COPS grant through the Department of Justice, the Bulletproof Vest grant through the Bureau of Justice Assistance. Those are a work in progress, a monumental work in progress, but it is getting done. And the last thing you see in there is the letter from the principal who invited us to the graduation ceremony. Second time they've actually done that. Brandon and I did attend. It was very nice. A lot of comments on people being happy that we were there. We're just basically crowd control. It was quiet. And the boxes are in the office and we're gonna start packing. So that's your update.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd want to see on that mileage log? I don't know how more complicated you want it to be. It's just, that's what we used to use. It works for me, because then I know who's driving and how much they're driving.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay. Any other? We'll move on then. Any other matters authorized by law?
I'll just throw in a quick item, just an update for you guys, that we're looking at the move to the temporary office is probably gonna be right around July 1st. And I think I had talked at the finance committee meeting about the schedule. Over the next couple of weeks, we've got some interior, some minor renovation, that'll be the next week here. The furniture is set to be picked up and delivered, set up in that temporary office June 22nd. And then we're looking at Heartland and Charter to get everything connected to that temporary office, get our internet and phone hooked up. We're looking like June 30th. And so on the city hall portion, we may actually close to walk-in customers for 2 days while we're moving things over and getting everything set up. We'll still have phones. Really what we're worried about is with the police, and that's why it's relevant here to this meeting, is that we're thinking that their email may be down up to an hour, and that might be the only impact that they have through the whole move. And that's all we're worried about, is making sure that that's minimized. And with Public Works and the office, we can take a back seat a little bit as long as we make sure that public safety is not compromised, so.
B's made it sound like it's not gonna be a big deal,
Yeah,
and I have no reason to doubt him.
yep. That's the only other update I've got.
You would probably still have it though in the squad, right? Because you could pick up off the library or,
The email's not so much of a problem. It's in the office, Spillman working, they have to do whatever they do, tunnels or wormholes from the new building to the county, and Mike has to have the right people lined up at the right time, and he can make that happen. Email, I mean,
The email will be
Nothing's
done
gonna-
because it's based off of our server, so whatever time they have to cut from one server to the next, that's really all that impact will be.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, they'll have internet access.
okay,
They'll have internet
yeah,
access.
we'll be good to go.
all right. All right. Then I would look for a motion to go into closed sessions to pursue 19.851C Wisconsin statute, consideration of employment, promotion, compensation, and performance evaluation data of any city employee who is subject to the jurisdictions and authority of the council. The reason for the closed session is to review the police chief's goals. The committee may choose to reconvene to open session at the completion of the closed session in order to take action on items from the closed session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Right. Roll call?
Kempf,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Gunderson,
Aye.
and it's 6:27.